Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. So if you like the content, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. It helps out the channel and the algorithm, and I would love to chat with people in the comments. So I wanted to do a video about having what I call a midlife crisis when I turn 30. So when I was probably a teenager and in my 20s, you would hear about just, movies or TV shows would be talking about, oh, so-and-so is having a midlife crisis. He went and bought a Ferrari, and it's usually someone around 40. In my mind, that's how it always was when I was growing up, when I was, around 20. And I'm trying to think if it was any time around 50 years old, but it seemed to always be around 40, which I'm now in my early 50s. So, 40 was a long time ago, but maybe now it is people say in their 50s, oh yeah, midlife crisis, 50-year-olds. I'm not sure. I don't really hear much. Let me know down below in the comments if that's kind of what people are saying now. But people would, earn movies and TV shows and whatever, would be saying, yeah, this guy, he's turning 40. He bought a Ferrari. He left his wife for a 20-year-old, or maybe a female, a woman, maybe left her marriage, maybe left her kids when she turned 40 and ran off also with a 20-year-old. And, it was always just something like, oh my gosh, people maybe can't deal with turning that age. They call it midlife. So maybe that was meaning, the middle, which maybe the age that everyone was living was around 80. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure where that came from, but that was always my impression. And so what was going on with me, I was in a relationship, and I wasn't a Christian then. And I can leave my testimony video down below because there's a whole story behind that. But I was in a relationship for almost 6 years, and that was just a crazy romance from the very beginning, from when we laid eyes on each other. And I was, I think, 22, no, 24. And so after 6 years of just a whirlwind, and it had its good and bad, and there were actually a lot of bad things and red flags that I just didn't want to see. But it was such a crazy romance that, it was hard to walk away from that, or to say that, this isn't working or isn't going to work. So, and we thought, we'd be together forever and all of that. But there were a lot of other factors going on. So after almost 6 years, I was going through things. I had a business, and I was thinking about selling it and doing something else. And so, because when you have your own business, you can't take time off. You don't get paid time off or paid holidays or anything. If you're not working and there, then you don't make any money. And so I was talking to him, and I had a friend of mine, and everything was lining up just perfectly. And I didn't see it, that it was God at the time. Like I said, I wasn't an official Christian then. I knew God was there, but I wasn't following him or anything. But he was orchestrating everything, and as always. So a friend of mine was interested in buying my business, and I always wanted to go to Europe. and I figured this would be a good time to do a vacation, a holiday in Europe for a month or two, and then come back and figure out, find a different job and go from there. So my boyfriend told me that he didn't have any interest in going to Europe. And this had been, even though I was 29 years old, it had been a lifelong dream of mine to go to Europe and see, Paris and Munich and London and all the places. So, excuse me, he told me I'll try to condense this. He said that he couldn't guarantee if he was going to be waiting for me when I got back. And I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, okay. And we hadn't even been talking about breaking up or anything. And I was like, okay, well, I really want to do this. And if my friend buys my business, then I'll have the money to do it and have money to live off of for a while. And yeah, it would only be for a month or maybe two. And so the way things worked, and I also was getting to where I wanted more of a commitment. And we never really were like, no, we don't need to get married. We don't need a piece of paper. We're together. We're committed, all that stuff. But then over time, like I was saying, going on 6 years, I was starting to want more of a commitment. And he would never even entertain the idea, and just very vague. And so what ended up happening, I sold the business. I'm trying to think here how that worked. So, okay. So first I was approaching 30 at the beginning of the year. And so, we got through the holidays, the beginning of the year, my 30th, and I did a big party, and that was really fun and everything. But I just knew in my heart of hearts that, things just weren't meshing like they used to, or like I wanted them to. And so a couple months after that, we broke up, and it was the hardest thing ever. Yeah, absolutely heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, just, oh my gosh. 'Cause yeah, like I said, it was just a crazy romance from day one, minute number one, when we saw each other. And so, yeah, that was just incredibly painful. And so that was the beginning of the year. And then, he was still wanting to get back together, and it was just like, yeah, it just wasn't, there were all these things, and there were all these red flags over the years that I was like, gosh, I should have seen these things from the beginning. But, love is blind, as they say. So, but yes, that was very painful, very hard. It was hard on, his family, my family, all our friends. Even our friends were saying, I have one friend who actually said, she was pretty much my best friend. She's like, gosh, I'm going to have to choose between being his friend or your friend. I was like, wow, really? Really? You have to think about that to see who you're going to be friends with, even though we've known each other for, over a decade, and you've known him for maybe 5 years. So, but anyways, that was a whole other thing. People kind of show who they're aligned with. And that might be another video, because as soon as we broke up, there were some female friends in our big group of friends that would hang out that went after my ex-boyfriend like immediately. I was like, wow, okay, you aren't wasting any time. So anyways, just lots of things were coming out. And so I ended up, I sold my business that fall, or that summer, maybe that fall, and decided to go to Europe. And I put all my stuff in storage, or a lot of it. I was renting out a room from this lady's house, so she let me just keep my stuff there while I was gone. I put some stuff in storage, and yeah, went to Europe for, I think it was almost 2 months. I can't remember, but it was the best time ever. It was so fun. And I was, being 30, I went on this group trip, and I don't even know if they do them anymore, but it was so fun. But I was one of the older people. So like everyone else was, right around early 20s, and I was 30. So that was funny. But it was the best time ever. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I was still getting over the breakup and everything, and I would still, be upset about it. But I had to see that, that wasn't meant to be, and other things were in my future. So then after Europe, I met some young ladies that were Australian, and they said, "Oh my gosh, you should come visit us in Australia." And I still had money to travel and didn't have to find a job yet. And yeah, so I decided to go to Australia for about a month also, and that was a lot of fun. And I could even link the video down below about meeting my husband, which I met him over there, and although I didn't know it at the time. But so, and then I came back, and at that point all kinds of things were changing, and I was dating this guy a little bit, but that had its own story. And so I was making all kinds of changes, and people would ask me like, "Wow, you and so broke up?" Because like I said, we had been together forever. And so that was a huge shock to people. And they would say, "Why? What happened? Oh my gosh." And, "Oh, wow, you went to Europe, and oh, then you went to Australia, and now, you have stuff in storage, and you're kind of here and there, not sure." And I would tell people, I say, "Yeah, I think I had my midlife crisis at 30 years old, because I, got out of a really long, serious relationship, traveled around the world, and sold my business that I had. And then I ended up leaving that place where it was outside of San Francisco, and I'd lived there for maybe 7 years. And then I moved back to the Sacramento, California area. And so all of those changes that were going on, it's like, wow, to me, that kind of defined, or the the definition of a midlife crisis. So that's what I tell people, or I did, especially back then. I don't really talk about it now because I don't really need to, but I wanted to do a video in case someone is maybe going through something big, life changes, maybe a major breakup or divorce, or moving to a different part of the country or a different area, maybe leaving your job that you've been at for a long time, maybe selling your business, maybe traveling to another part of the world to kind of get away, but also just get refreshment and rest and a new perspective and all those things. So let me know down below in the comments if you've been through anything like this, if any of your friends have. Yeah, it's, when I think back, of course I see how God was working in my life, even though I wasn't following him. But yeah, he got me away from that guy who wasn't right for me. And even though for 5+ years I thought he was, and all that. But no, there was something better and more suited for me. And yeah, and getting out of that area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and yeah, just moving to a different area, meeting. And if I hadn't moved, I wouldn't have met a whole bunch of people that I'm now really good friends with. And I wouldn't have gone to Australia. I wouldn't have met my now husband. Yeah, I have friends all over the world that I met on that Europe trip. And yeah, just all the things that ended up lining up and working out. And yeah, it's pretty amazing when I think back, just the way things happened. So yeah, it's all God's timing and his plan. And of course I see that now, and hindsight is 2020. So you might be going through something really hard right now that doesn't make sense, that's so confusing, you just don't know what's happening. Just try to trust God with his plan and what he's doing behind the scenes. Like, we might not see something happening for days or weeks or months or even years, but God is working it all out. And like my now husband and I, we were pen pals and friends for 8.5 years before we started dating and deciding to be together. So anything can happen with any chunk of time. And yeah, I've talked to other people who have just amazing stories too, where, you know, maybe a tragedy or something really major happens in their life that changes everything and uproots them and puts them in a different area, different space, different mindset. And then their whole world just changes from then on, the path that they're supposed to be on. So I hope all that makes sense. Let me know what you guys think, if you can relate at all. And I hope maybe this video will speak to someone. So thanks for watching, and I hope you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and I'll see you in the next video. All right. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.